Spire's billionaire owner openly questions if he can trust NASCAR, and IndyCar's season finale adds a wrinkle to the ongoing NASCAR playoff debate. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove, presented by Tableau TV. Last week's fiery court hearing between NASCAR and 2311 Front Row is already having ripple effects throughout the Cup Series garage. We will get to that and more in just a moment. But first, this episode is sponsored by Lectric eBikes, introducing the Lectric XP4. The Lectric XP has been the best-selling e-bike in America for years. The XP4 is the next generation. The XP4 is travel-sized, fully foldable, great for road trips. You can ride up to 85 miles on its new, larger battery. The XP4 features 5 different riding modes, turn signals, custom 602 hydraulic brakes. The Lectric XP4 is built for everyday riders who want more. More power, more control, and more fun. Click the link down below to learn more about the Lectric XP4. Thank you to Lectric eBikes for sponsoring the show. Before we discuss what the Spire Motorsports owner said about the ongoing NASCAR antitrust case, the IndyCar season just wrapped up, and their final race of the year on Big Fox earned 1.1 million average viewers at Nashville. That's more than double last season's season finale on Big NBC. And that increases despite Alex Palou clinching the series championship weeks ago. Now, because context is important, it's worth noting this weekend's race did not go head-to-head against NASCAR like many other IndyCar races have this year. It's also worth noting that last year's IndyCar season finale went head-to-head against the NFL on Sunday. This year's finale did not. But even with all that added context, this weekend's race at Nashville was the third most watched IndyCar race all season. And again, the champion had already long been decided. Tying this back to NASCAR, the argument that NASCAR and many pro playoff supporters have made over the years is that NASCAR needs some sort of playoff system to keep the points close late in the year so that fans will continue to tune in. The theory is that if the championship is locked up weeks early, which happened occasionally in the past, then fans wouldn't be interested. They wouldn't tune in the final couple of races. Viewership would take a tumble. This IndyCar data seems to debunk that theory. Now, not completely. There are differences between IndyCar and NASCAR. While yes, they are two major American motorsport series, one is open wheel, the other is fendered stock car racing. There are differences culturally, so I'm not going to jump the gun and say that this data proves we need full season points back in NASCAR. I mean, that is a valid argument, those who continue to make it. My takeaway from this IndyCar data, coupled with what I know about NASCAR and its viewership data over the year, my takeaway is that this says something about most American race fans. Not all, but many. For many American racing fans, the championship battle is the B plot. The A plot is that weekend's race. Most fans have a favorite driver. Regardless of points, if your favorite driver is racing, chances are you're going to tune in. You hear this from drivers all the time. The championship would be great, but drivers care most about wins, and fans care most about drivers. So if your favorite driver is going for a win, chances are their fans are going to watch. If we talk about past NASCAR viewership, the sport's biggest year-to-year viewership decline wasn't when the chase was introduced. Actually, then ratings went up for a year or two. It wasn't when the playoff format was created. It wasn't even when stage racing was introduced. No, NASCAR's biggest year-to-year viewership drop in my lifetime was 2017 to 2018, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. retired. So my takeaway from this IndyCar revelation is simply that the playoff format does not drive TV viewership. Or at the very least, it's like the 4th, 5th, or 6th most important thing. No, what drives motorsports viewership in America, at least IndyCar and NASCAR, is the network that it's on first and foremost, network versus cable versus streaming. The market, just naturally big market races like a Nashville typically rate higher than small market races. And then scheduling, start time, what is it going up directly against? That's what drives viewership more than any single playoff or points format. And that seems to be how it's been now for years. For the average American racing fan, the points battle is the B plot. You're paying attention to it. It's nice to talk about from time to time, to check in on, but the A plot that has everyone's attention hooked is that individual weekend's race. If the racing is good, like it was at Nashville for the IndyCar series, if your favorite driver is competing, going for a win, chances are fans are going to tune in. That's my takeaway looking at these numbers, at least. In my opinion, that should be the final nail in the coffin for the one race winner take all finale. The data does not show that the one race finale has driven viewership in any significant way. So hopefully at the very least, that part of the playoff format goes away sooner rather than later. Anyway, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you have a different theory as to why IndyCar viewership was high despite the championship battle being decided? Does it reflect more on the format itself or on numerous other factors like I suggested? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. As we all know, NASCAR is currently locked in a heated legal battle with two race teams, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports. Last week, there was a hearing in Charlotte that got heated. I'll put a link down in the description below. Jenna Fryer of the Associated Press published a brief synopsis of the latest court disagreements. But at the end of this piece, she included a quote from Spire Motorsports co-owner Dan Tauris. He who also owns the Cadillac F1 team, Andretti, who've been in the news lately, part of TWG Global, a massive enterprise. And in this quote, Tauris expressed disappointment with NASCAR and its leadership. He said, quote, "We had meetings with the NASCAR brass a few weeks ago, and it's how can we help? What we saw in court, what was released in that case, is very inconsistent with what NASCAR says privately. And so I need to understand, who am I dealing with? Which one is it? Is it the people we meet with privately, or is it what you say when we're not around?" Now, while Dan Tauris did not go into any specifics, there are several things from that hearing last week he could be referencing. Something called the Gold Codes were revealed. This was NASCAR's contingency plan in case the Cup teams had chosen to boycott races. Essentially, these plans would have replaced Cup Series teams with NASCAR-supported teams, with the assistance perhaps from Xfinity and Truck Series organizations. Tauris could also be referencing texts that surfaced between NASCAR executives, texts that showed their frustration with how the charter negotiations were going a couple years ago. And these texts also seemed to show that later charter drafts were less favorable to the teams. So there are a few things there that Dan Tauris, I think it's Tauris, could be referencing. Point is, this is one of the first times we have heard another Cup Series team owner publicly question or even criticize the sanctioning body since this court case began. There have been a few other rumblings, like Richard Childress last year explained that he felt somewhat pressured to sign the charter agreement when he did, or in court last week, there were text messages between Spire co-owner Jeff Dickerson and NASCAR where Dickerson said that the charter agreement was fair. That was then. I wonder what Jeff Dickerson thinks now. We know what his fellow Spire co-owner Dan Tauris thinks. And Dan Tauris, he's the guy with the truly deep pockets. He's a newer NASCAR owner, has made huge investments into Spire Motorsports in recent years. They've upgraded the personnel. They've expanded 3 full-time Cup teams. Remember, they bought up Kyle Busch Motorsports, many of its assets. Tauris has invested into his NASCAR team more than many other owners in recent years, yet now here he is amidst this lawsuit publicly questioning NASCAR and its leadership. It's not a good look, to say the very least. Not a good look for NASCAR, I should specify. And Dan Tauris, speaking to reporter Jenna Fryer, did say that he hopes NASCAR settles with the two race teams before this goes to trial. Who am I dealing with? He asked in that quote. It doesn't sound like Spire's billionaire co-owner trusts NASCAR very much. It's just a bad look for NASCAR. You've got these new owners who've come into the sport in recent years, high-profile owners with deep pockets. Michael Jordan is suing NASCAR. Dan Tauris publicly questioning their leadership. Can he trust them? It's not a good look, and it's not a great sign for where things are headed. Like I said last week when talking about the court case and the recent hearing, I said it then, it feels like this whole industry is headed towards a cliff. And despite all the red flags and warning signs, nobody is trying to turn this ship around. Everyone is stubbornly heading for the ledge. When the judge, Kenneth Bell, keeps urging both sides to settle, warns them that all of their dirty laundry will be made public come December, then goes on to say that NASCAR won't look the same if the teams were to win. He's not being dramatic. And the owner of Spire Motorsports sees that. His attention has been piqued. Makes you wonder if there are any other owners in the NASCAR Cup Series that will put similar pressure on NASCAR and or the other race teams like 2311 Front Row. Will there be pressure, outside pressure from around the industry on these two different sides to settle this case before December? I think it's a long shot, but hearing those comments from someone with a lot of influence, a lot of financial influence for sure, who's invested in the sport in recent years, hearing those comments publicly, I thought was a wake-up call to me, and I'm sure if the France family has seen them, it's a wake-up call to them as well. Anyway, just wanted to talk about those comments for a few moments. An off-track focused episode today. If you want to hear some on-track racing discussion and debate, check out my video from earlier this morning. Ryan Stevens, wintherace.info, stopped by to discuss Gateway, playoff scenarios. Good talk, good conversation as always. But that is going to do it for this episode. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more NASCAR news, commentary, content every single day. I really appreciate your very generous support. Have a great rest of your day, folks. I will talk with you again soon. Thank you again for watching.